A southern gothic vampire horror film starring Michael B. Jordan. Holy I'm sold.
Stay. It's you?
Of course it's me. Open the door.
That ain't your brother.
Today we're going to talk about the new film Sinners, which follows twin brothers who are trying to leave their troubled lives behind and start again in their hometown of Mississippi, only to discover that an even greater evil is waiting to welcome them back. So guys, I have been super excited for this movie. This was one of the movies I've been highly looking forward to, and number one reason is because it's Michael B. Jordan, okay? Starring Michael B. Jordan, how could you not love that? I love everything about him, if you know what I mean. I love him, okay? Number two, vampires. I love vampire horror. I think vampires are so cool, especially if you do them right. And I was really excited for the era it was set in and what they were going for. And obviously the director on this one is Ryan Coogler, known for Creed and Black Panther. And the movie's set in 1932 in the Mississippi Delta, which leads me to the first positive of the film. The setting and the vibe of the movie and the atmosphere in general is really on point. From the opening scene, the very first scene we see, you can tell it's in the South, auditorily and visually. You can feel it. It's almost muggy and buggy, and the vast fields of cotton are oddly picturesque. And I also think the opening scene acts as a really great hook to the movie, in my opinion. There's some jump scare use here, but it's done in a clever way, a way that really intrigues us as to how the story is going to unfold and how the vampires are going to fit into the story. But as far as the movie as a whole, what really brings the movie to life in conjunction with the setting, the costumes, how the characters speak, how they look, and the great fusion of elements at play here is, of course, the music. It's captivating and it's diverse and it's magical and it's used throughout the whole entire movie. Even when characters are simply having conversations with one another, the background music is apparent and it really brings you into the movie more and more. And the scenes where the characters are actually performing songs and giving full performances is enthralling and enchanting. And I have to say, as a music lover, the music here was incredible. And I noticed each and every piece throughout the film. It brought the movie to life. It made us feel different emotions at different parts. It made me feel like I was there at the party having fun, dancing, and it ties the whole atmosphericness of the movie together in a neat bow. So for me, the movie is pretty much textbook in the use of the visual and auditory elements to make the overall feeling and emotional tone just perfection throughout. And that leads me to another positive. Part of what makes up the tone of the movie is also the great tension buildup that it creates and the awesome vampires. So on one hand, we have this unique Southern Gothic setting, music throughout that entices the viewer, but also these very creepy moments, these horror moments, and these moments that really build up the tension and the impending doom that we are about to get. So first and foremost, I love the vampires in this. I love the creature design. I think they look so cool. The glowing eyes are awesome, and the teeth look great. They don't look fake or cheesy, which is something I was a little bit worried about. And surprisingly, one of my favorite characters of the whole movie is like the leader of the vampires, named Remick, played by Jack O'Connell, because not only is he badass in a weird way, but he's also hella creepy, but also funny, and he's just perfection in the role. And when I say funny, so I only say that because my dude literally does this vampire Irish jig for like 5 minutes. It's actually spectacular. Like this vampire with glowing eyes and creepy, he's just singing his folk tunes and doing his Irish jig, and the other vampires are dancing along. Like, it's fucking amazing. What's not to love? Like, hearing it from me, it probably sounds cheesy, but it's actually really cool. With the vast use of all the music throughout this, like, the vampires have their great musical parts just as much as our main characters of the film. Like, the vampires get down. They get down and they dance and they jig and they sing. And while it was funny in a sense, it still worked. And it worked in kind of a creepy cult-like vibe. So it was kind of cool how they did that. And there's one scene I particularly loved where we basically see the vampire's first victim get turned into a vampire, and it's shocking, and the vampire just looks incredible as this is happening. The blood dripping down his face, the eyes glowing, the way the light is hitting him, and he says some sort of dialogue and his teeth are snarling, and then we pan to this moon and the music just rises up and it's just perfect. It's like, oh, this is what we're getting ourselves into. This is kind of the first time we see the vampire and his face, and it's really badass. I loved it. So needless to say, I think the vampires are one of the aspects that really takes the movie to its next level. I loved when they were on screen. Awesome. I also really like the pace of the movie. I think the plot really just comes down to these twin brothers rallying and recruiting the troops for the big party with live music at their new place and all the events that unfold during the night. And they spent a pretty good amount of time developing the brothers and the connection between them and the cousin and their family and friends that they were inviting to the party, and the roles that they wanted their friends and family to play at the party, whether it be cooking or playing music or manning the door, just bringing everybody together and wanting to create a really great business, first of all, but party second of all, of course. We then get a large portion of the movie solely dedicated to the music, and we get like full performances, and it's absolutely awesome. And then the vampire part, I think, is paced well too. It naturally progresses through the night and the horrors of the night. So the plot is simple, but still unique in its own way, and I think it all unfolds at a pretty good pace. The movie also basically leaves no ends untied, so it doesn't end after the night of the vampires. It also addresses other issues that we were told about and more in the middle of the movie, some of the issues the brothers had to deal with, other things that were going on, and it gives us insight into how the main characters' lives end up playing out. And I may have to give it an extra point, maybe a full extra point in my rating at the end for this scene towards the end where Michael B. Jordan's character is tying up some loose ends with some people, and it involves him and a tank top or no shirt or something, and he's shooting his gun. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Great scene. I loved it. But in general, as far as our main characters go, I like how they really left no questions unanswered here. And the characters that we know, their lives and or their fates that they all get are very fitting and make sense. So I like how everything was pretty much addressed in this movie. However, this leads me to a couple of mixed feelings that I have for Sinners. So there is a mid-credits scene that I feel mixed about because it kind of changes the perception of the vampires. And what I mean by that is we learn that some of the vampires seem to be able to control themselves, and they can spare people, and they can make human connections, and they're able to have like this conscience. And I'm unsure if I like how they did this, because in my head and how the vampires were acting for pretty much all of the movie is they were taking out everybody, you know, bloodthirsty, not caring who was who, whatever, you know, they were just out for blood. But then at the end, it kind of flips this on its head. It's like, oh, wait, they can have personal connections, they can have conscience, they can choose who to kill, they cannot. I don't know if I like that, because it's like, I kind of like the idea of once you turn, it makes it more creepy that once you get turned into a vampire, you don't really have any allegiance anymore other than to your vampires. You'll go after anybody and everybody, even the people closest to you. So I don't know how I felt about the mid-credit scene. I like how they did it, and I like how it shows how some of the characters have progressed as time has gone on, but I don't like how they flip the perception of vampires in this. So that's a mixed feeling that I have for this movie. Another part that I'm a little bit mixed about is during the cousin's main performance. So there's this young kid, there's the two twin brothers, and then they have this cousin that they kind of recruit to play, and he can play guitar and he can sing all soulful, and he sounds amazing, and he sings the blues. But there's this one part where he's performing his song, and the dialogue kind of during it is this sort of idea that while he's playing, his music is so good that it can pierce the veil between life and death and past, present, and future. And so all of a sudden, while he's playing, we see a bunch of kind of random people from the future, from the past, people all in different outfits and different cultural outfits, dancing and kind of playing into their cultural norms, how they dance, how they act. It's all of a sudden like not just the people at the party. It's kind of like he's calling in the ancestors and people are all dancing to his music. While I really like the point of this, which is that music brings everybody together. You know, it's a moment where we can all enjoy the magic of music, our ancestors, us in the now, us in the present, us in the future. But when this was happening and it first started to happen, I literally in my head, I was like, what the f-? I was like, what the f*** is going on? So it took me out of the movie a little bit. So I kind of liked it, I kind of didn't. It's a mixed feeling that I have for the movie. So while those are some of my mixed feelings, let's move on to some of the negatives I have or some of the critiques I have for the movie. So while I love the vampires, I do wish we got a little bit more development regarding them. Like, where did they come from? We see the one vampire wanting to get into someone's house, and there's this scene where some Native Americans come by and they're like, he's not what he seems. So they obviously know what he is. They know that he is a vampire. And I wanted more of that story, that development. Like, how did this one vampire come to be? Why is he here? Why did these Native Americans know about them? What was the leading up story of this? That would have been cool to know. So I would have liked a little development there. Apart from that, I'm also a little mixed about the gore. I think the gore looked really great in the dark, but there's some scenes where in the light, the blood looks really bad and pink and fake. There's one scene that particularly stands out to me where one guy is kind of like cuts his arm and you see the blood squirt out and it just looks a little bit ridiculous. It's pink and it's just like kind of squirting out almost like a string. It just looked kind of bad for me. So there's like 2 instances of that where I was like, So I'll mention that here. And then finally, I thought there was a few unrealistic parts. There's this part where somebody gets shot and they're like, ow. And then they're like, just start talking like nothing's wrong. It's almost like they stubbed their toe or something. I'm like, did he get shot or not? What? And then finally, actually, probably the biggest critique I have for this movie, the other ones I talked about are pretty minuscule. They're really not that big of a deal to me, but this one kind of was a big deal. How they end up slaying the final vampire felt unrealistic to me, unfortunately. It's kind of like one of those moments where they get him, but there's so many people around. It's like, you didn't see him coming. It's kind of anticlimactic. Like, I love the final conflict leading up to it, but how they ultimately slay the vampires is kind of like, I don't know. I was a little bit disappointed in it. It just felt unrealistic. It felt like, really? You didn't see him coming? He's right there. So I wish they could have done something a little bit different, a little bit better in that part. But then again, not really a huge damper for me. But apart from that, guys, I loved it. I thought that the elements here worked in perfect harmony for the most part. I love the setting, the characters, the music, the vibe, the atmosphere, and most importantly, the vampires. Well, even more importantly, Michael B. Jordan. I like that the story is so simple yet intriguing, and it really unravels at such an adequate pace. I love, like I said, Michael B. Jordan and the main vampire, and I love how badass the two of them are, but in different ways. I love how eerie the movie was, but how beautiful and also touching it was at times too. So guys, I'm giving this a 4.5 out of 5 star from Linzar. Woo! At last we get a good one after just a dry run of movies through March, and the last one I saw was disappointing to me. I am happy to tell you guys this one was really nice for me. I mean, the only thing I wanted more was a little bit more development on the vampire front, a little bit of a more realistic final ending with the final vampire, and some of the little tiny things like the gore and the light, little tiny things that I'm kind of nitpicking because, you know, I got to find at least some critiques. That's the only thing I really wanted more of it. But I was happy with this movie. But those are my thoughts. Let's see what the general consensus is. Hey, 4.5 out of 5, average audience rating. Look at that. Guys, I have been wrong for a while here. Well, wrong. You know, sometimes it's so fun for me to see where I stack up when there's audience ratings just looking at these. But I said 4.5. Average audience rating is 4.5, overwhelmingly 5s. I feel like we're finally back on track. Ooh, baby. 98% Rotten Tomatoes. That's really good. And 2,724 ratings to go from. So remember that last one I did where there was like 100? Oh, thank God. So I feel like this is a way better pool, and I feel like this is accurate. It's really, really, really nice. So I'm very happy with this. And guys, you don't have to just take my word for it now. Now you can see that I'm with the general consensus. Hell yeah, I recommend seeing this in the theater. It's going to be great on the biggest screen. The vampires, the music, the atmosphere really comes to life in the theaters, and I think that you'll be captivated the entire time. I personally love vampire movies, but even if you're not really like me and you don't love it that much, I think you'll like the creepiness, but I think you'll also like the fun that they bring if you enjoy elements of horror. But I think you also like everything leading up to the Night of Horrors and the vampires because it tells a great story and it has a great cast. So really, really, really cool. And after all, how often do we see a vampire with glowing eyes and snarling teeth do a perfect iris jig? Not often. But what do you guys think? Have you guys seen Sinners? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. And thank you guys for watching, and catch me next time. Peace.